Hello and welcome once again to my layout, New Junction. Now, as you can see, I've been busy since last time, not just playing with the trains, as you can see, but I've started with the greenery on the layout, and we're slowly sweeping our way down the layout and hopefully bringing a bit more life to the scene. Now, from where I left off last time, I've added in the all-new West Hill Wagon Works angled fence, so it actually goes up the hills, and now it's improved, so it's a sort of Generation 2 version of the West Hill Wagon Works fences. So that was the sort of base I was waiting to get nailed before starting with the various bushes and scenery and trees and whatnot. So, in this video, I'm going to take a closer look at how I do it and basically show you what I do messing around here in the garage. So, hopefully enjoy. So the way I like to do this is building up the layers. So you've probably guessed that's my method of choice these days. Do something, it looks wrong, and then add more to it and keep going until something looks relatively good. In this instance, I used it on the original New Junction, although on a very smaller scale. And where all this scenery came from was actually the saved foliage from the original layout. So I thought I'd layer it up and see how far it got, but I found it quite interesting that all that you can see here is actually all that was on New Junction in terms of seafoam. The bulk of it was next to the station, if you remember the previous layout. Right, so where do I start? So the first layer for me, anyway, once the grass and scatter's been applied, is seafoam. So this is Knock original seafoam. Now this is like rocking horse plop currently. You can get various different types in different boxes, things like that, but seafoam for the most part is seafoam. I don't think you'll have much choice, to be honest, which brand to go for. It'll be whichever your local shop stocks, because it, as I say, it's like a rocking horse plop. This would be the first one I would add, and as I'll show you in a minute, I put it on first next to the boundaries. Next I come on to Woodland Scenic's fine leaf foliage. This is in effect a clump material, but it's not clumped in the sense of it's very small pieces. It's like a giant piece. So as you can see, there's a bit there. It almost sticks together. It adds a nice texture, a different colour, and of course it fills in the gaps and hides all sorts of mistakes. But again, it's a very solid, independent piece of scenery. So again, you need more to blend it in. So next on the list is this Woodland Scenic's foliage, as it's labelled. Now in the bag, it's actually a sort of material you have to pull apart. It's not separate pieces that you sort of scatter around, as you've seen before. I don't know if it's technically got a different name, but on the bag it's just called foliage. Now, a quick test, if you get these plastic bags, you can almost pull it apart just to see you're getting the right one in the shop, because they do the same sort of thing, but it's the sprinkle scatter type. And that goes in the mix as well. Once I've added all those things onto the scene, I'd then like to add a uniform scatter. So in this instance, it's the Knock leaves. I've got the sort of luminous light green and then the more sort of darkened green Knock leaves. Very simple. Just a few going around, but it really does help to blend the various tones of the bigger items that you've just put in together. And the more of that you do, the more blending you do, the better the scene will look eventually. And of course, the more you add, the better it'll look, or that's in my experience anyway. And finally, for now, I've got some Woodland Scenic's trees. Now, as you can see, there's a couple in the corner. These just add a nice bit of height and almost create a bit of a backdrop for an open layout like this, and just divert the eye away from a flat back scene if you have one. Again, you can get a whole variety of trees and make your own, etc. They can be expensive. I'll probably end up dabbling with someone like Primo trees or WWS trees, that kind of thing, eventually. But for now, I got these just to fill in the gaps. So the first thing is to get the seafoam out. That's the first layer, and as you can see, it comes as a very big clump. Now, what I'm going to do is pull out smaller pieces. Now, this particular box, because every box seems to be different, is actually lending itself to becoming trees. I don't know if you can see that, because of all the pieces are nice tall shapes, and you could spray those up with hairspray and scatter, and then make yourself a load of trees for the layout. However, I'm going to take off the bases on them, just snapping them off, and then put them on their side and layering them up against the fence. For the most part, in this instance, I'm going to do it on the outside. Now, currently I'm not going to glue them in because I'm not committing just yet, but I'm doing this just for the video. They won't go anywhere, so you don't need to worry. And I'm just going to, for now, layer up this fence line with a bit of the sea foam, different colours, and we'll come back when it's all done. Now, while I'm sifting through, I just want to say I think this is the best box I've ever had for tree-like shapes. I mean, look at that piece. That's just absolutely fantastic. It's a giant conifer, if ever I saw one. And then, of course, we've even got this one, which has nothing on the bottom, but again, it looks like a really good tree. So I'll actually be saving these pieces and using them on the backdrop. And there we are. Now, from the back, as you can see, with just the sea foam, you can see all it is lots of little pieces which have been stacked, looking hopefully in the right direction, behind the fence. Now, this should give the appearance of overgrown bushes and also a different layer or different height layer. As you can see, it builds up. Oh, I've lost you. Where are you gone? Hello. So I've come down, I've turned you around so you can see the front of the fence, and as hopefully you can see a bit better that the sea foam that's currently there looks very natural in the sense of it's overgrown right next to a network rail fence. I am just going to add a couple of pieces just here, just to break up the scene, and I'll tell you where these things are very good, is sort of the ends of details that you've got, and even you see around here at the end of the stonework on the bridge, they hide 1,000 mistakes. But I'm just going to add in a little bit to hopefully just break up the scene and add a bit of almost randomness to it. Not too much, because I don't want to go crazy with it, of course. Less is more, as they say. He says as he's putting more on. I'll leave that. And now that's in, we'll move on to the fine leaf foliage. In the box, as you can see, it comes out almost like a giant clump of sponge. Now, one of my go-to colours with Woodland Scenics is olive green. So all I'm going to do is pull this apart over the layout, because any of the scatter is fine, and then just start adding in bits here and there in amongst the sea foam. Again, if anything, just to break up the constantness of it, without pushing my fence down. And again, I find as you start to add layers, it looks a bit odd, but the more you add, the better it becomes. So when it comes to gluing this, I'll be using a mix of sort of PVA or basing glue through the middle, along with lots of basing glue through the mix, and then hairspray again for the higher up layers, the scatters, things like that. They all work wonders with this kind of scene. Right, that's a bit of that in. So now it's time to add the foliage. Now, another top tip I learnt with foliage while I'm opening this is, again, to go for a different colour again. So this is just light green. And all it does, if you can see, ooh, that's made a mess of the track. You can see it's all together, and you have to really pull it apart. Now, again, when you're doing this, do it over the layout, because it drops a lot of its green scatter that's on it, and it just blends in the scene. But you pull it apart and very simply lay it down. Next, I'm going to help blend it in with some knot leaves. Now, normally I'd be very, very scarce with the light green ones because they stand out a mile. But just by adding them over the top of things, just helps blend it in and, again, distract the eye from all the various bits. And that, again, the more you add, the more it blends in. And again, with a darker colour, a more natural tone, I tend to add a few more just over the top. And again, you can use things like your spiderweb. You can use things like the various scatters. You see the very, very fine stuff with a bit of hairspray. That works wonders at blending this all in, because it just nulls it all down. So I've took myself down in the corner of your screens here just to hopefully give you a bit more of a closer look at the embankment. Now, there's still a bit to go and a lot of fettling to do, which is why I don't glue it in while I'm doing this short video. But you can see that as the various elements blend together and come on and be added to the scene, it just starts to build it in, and you start to forget what it looked like with just the sort of plain grass. And it really starts to look like a very mature embankment around these tunnel entrances, which is exactly what I'm going for. So, move the camera ever so slightly. Now we come on to adding the Woodland Scenics trees. Now, I just pop the box. These are very handy because they're very solid, they're plastic. They do come with bases, but I take the base off and they come with a little spigot on the bottom, which is perfect for just sticking straight into the plaster bandage. Now, you can do wonders with this kind of thing. Again, hairspray and scatter, knot leaves, you can really build them up. For the simplicity of this video though, I'm just going to put them in place for now. But if you compare that side of the layout without the trees to this side with the trees, you can really see how adding a few really just makes a difference. So I'm going to add in these 5 I've got. And how about this? Shameless plug and a top tip in one. So when you buy your Curascale locomotives and you get your locomotive ends on the boxes, the protectors, they make great storage compartments for all your various scenery items. Now, what I tend to do, all joking aside, is I tend to put the various bits that I use for different parts of the scenery in one box. So we've got one with paint, one with the fence line scenery, and then one with all the things for my grasses. Works a treat. So I'm going to move this now, and I'm going to continue on the scene, sort of down this side, and then much more on that side. And yeah, you'll join me in a moment when I've added some more. Now, one thing I like to add when you've got garish areas such as this patch here kind of thing, or very different colours, is the fine turf in the earth colour. Now, this is the dust that you can get. It didn't quite work out for soil, but what I do find is that you sprinkle it on the various over-coloured areas and it really blends them in, because it takes that overbearing sort of extra colour off them. And again, you do it from a height and it gets what's next to them as well. So it's just a real sort of blending tool, and adds, again, a bit of depth to the scene. But this is what you'd add with a bit of hairspray onto the scene. And it just, I think it just ties everything in together. It's one of them little tips I think you'll understand more so probably if you're doing it yourself. And again, most people have something like this just to add on to the layout. It's great. This is all part of the fun, of course. So now the scene's really sort of starting to blend in. You can really see, especially above the tunnel portals and just to the side of them, the scenery is really starting to fill in. And you almost start to stop noticing the various different products used, and it starts to blend in, embed in, which is great. I just need to continue it on and maybe do a bit more around this bridge. And as you can see, talking of the bridge, I've already started adding in the boundaries, the fences. Ooh, that was clever. Shameless plug. So you can just about see that I've just trashed the layout. I've just dropped all that. Good job it was in a box. Right, you can just about see I've got the Woodland Scenics wire fence. It's extremely difficult to focus on. Hopefully you can get that. But again, it's just more boundaries to build up the scenery towards, and hopefully the scene really starts to come together. Let's continue a bit more. So moving down to the Heritage Line Bridge here, this bit here is a prime example of an area that just needs a bit of help, because I could fill it in with more brickwork or things like that, but a quick and easy fix for now would just be to put in some clump foliage, and just like that, the bridge is bedded in and you can't see through it. In the long term, obviously we will go back over things like that, but again, if it's just a quick and easy fix for a small patch on the layout like that, this is where this stuff comes in handy. And there we are. Hopefully that's given you a bit of an insight into how I go about adding the shrubbery side of the scenery to the layout. I've got a lot more to do and a lot more fettling to do, and so much more sort of physical product to add. But as you've seen, I've pretty much gone through the various boxes I showed you at the beginning of this video already, just adding to what I've already got. So you can see it really eats up the physical product. But as with all these things, the more you add, the better it looks, because you can't focus on one particular product. So the more you add, like I say, the better it looks. Right, I'm going to say a big thank you to everyone for watching. Do let me know down below in the comments if you have any suggestions for your own scenery work. I'd love to hear them. And of course, do keep in touch with the New Junction Facebook page and Patreon page, where you can see the latest pictures and things like that and content. And on that note, I'm going to say a big thank you to the channel patrons as ever for the support to help keep the channel going. All that's left to do now really is, apart from play trains and play with the new Acura Scale Class 60 sample, as you've probably spied running around, is basically to get the glue out and carry on. So unfortunately the trains are going to have to stop in the station while I continue off camera, and hopefully it won't be long before this scene really looks very different. And as you can see, the layout, if I really pan back, is really starting to, particularly over there, become a nice scene. All that's left to do is to go over to the other side and start on the station. But that's another video and another day. So before I start waffling, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.